Hey there, everybody, whoever everybody might be out there that's tuned in and possibly watching tonight. This is Jerry Vasilatos. Thanks for joining me for another video journal of my osseointegration journey. It is the night before my surgery, and I just thought it might be appropriate to kind of come on and talk for a little while since I do plan to try to get back on YouTube here after my procedure to share the initial developments and experiences after the surgery tomorrow. But I also thought it'd be a nice opportunity tonight, since I launched this channel last week, to hopefully gather a little bit of an audience to actually participate in the live chat. Because for those of you who may remember me from my show Chicago Corner, along with my co-host Ed and Kira, big fun part of the show was participating with viewers watching live in the live stream. So if there's anybody out there watching tonight on YouTube that wants to throw something into the conversation, let's see, this way? No, this way. There should be a live chat window up. And if you want to type some comments in there, I can see them on this end. As we're talking about things during the broadcast, you can throw in your thoughts and I can read them here on the air and have them pop up. So yeah, that's what the fun thing about live streaming is with StreamYard and all this wonderful hardware here and software. You can actually interact with your audience. So it's 8 o'clock, 8:02 p.m. Chicago time, Central Standard. I'm expected to be at the hospital tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. is my check-in. I'm going to try to sneak some video in the prep area before they put me under anesthesia, just to capture some thoughts before I go in. But I think it's certainly not exclusive to this type of surgery as it is to any kind of surgery. You kind of get excited, you're ready for it, then the night before, you really start thinking about what's going to happen and the changes that are going to take place in your life depending on what you're getting done. One of the risks of this particular procedure, as with any implantation, whether it's knee replacement, hip joint replacement, or shoulder replacement. Hey, there's Ed. Ed, let me get to your comment in just a moment. And thanks for tuning in, Ed. Ed's my co-host from Chicago Corner. We haven't broadcast together for a while. But Ed, if you want to pop in tonight, I'm on StreamYard. You can find your way into the studio if you want to join me live. It'd be great to have someone to chat with here. But to your question, how many Fortnite weapons will be available for the new prosthesis once it's implanted? I don't know if anybody's seen the Robert Rodriguez movie, Planet Terror. And I'm trying to remember the name of the actress. She played a dancer who lost her leg. She mounted a machine gun out of the bottom of it. And she was like interacting in this movie with a machine gun on her prosthesis attached above her knee. Bruce Willis was in that movie too. Rose McGowan, that's who it was. Yeah, thank you, Ed. It was Rose McGowan. Don't know yet. I'll have to see what kind of attachments will be available to fit onto the connection device underneath the implantation. But thank you, Ed, for asking. Getting back to my original train of thought here with risks inherent with this type of surgery or any kind of implantation surgery, whether it's shoulder, hip, knee, they warn you that there could be risk for infection or rejection. There could be allergy rejections. I actually know someone who's undergone a procedure and they're dealing with some things with allergic reactions to, I guess, metals. Now, this is a titanium implant. I haven't had any concerns about allergic reaction to implantations, and I've also had a knee replacement. So I guess I would have known by now if my body would reject the materials inherent in titanium or just transplants in general. But the other risk that they talk about was risk of infection. The reason being, the titanium rod that they implant into your femur comes out from the bottom of your skin, and that area where the implant enters the body and the skin, it's susceptible to exposure. Got to keep it clean. There's definitely, not to gross anybody out, but as with any open wound that has to close, there will be, some moisture, some drainage, for lack of a better word. And that can be treated with antibiotics. Other amputees I've spoken with regarding this procedure have talked about, they kind of dealt with infection here or there, but it's treated with antibiotics. And so long as you're very conscious about keeping that area cleaned up and hygienic, you shouldn't have too many problems with that. And then eventually, as the one amputee peer that I spoke to told me, it's not a long-term thing. It's just probably something post-op. But it does get you thinking the night before a surgical procedure, like, okay, I'm excited. What could go wrong? Because a couple things could go wrong. You could be healthy as a horse, and hopefully anesthesia goes well. That's why anesthesiologists are very well paid. It's a very, very precise and tricky thing to put somebody fully under before they go into surgery, as I'm sure a lot of people who've undergone surgical procedures know. So, tomorrow's the big day, and I'm excited for it. Slightly apprehensive, pessimistically optimistic. Right, Ed? Don't I always say that's what I am in these circumstances? I thought it might be interesting too, as much as I got into the specifics of osseointegration last broadcast, it would be kind of interesting for those who might not know amputees or, the life of those dealing with limb loss, the history of prosthetic innovation. Because remember, this particular procedure that's hopefully going to give me more stability and confidence walking, since it's a bone-anchored implant, is a relatively new procedure in the US. It's been around for over a decade in other countries, but this is what preceded this new innovation of implanting a bone-anchored transplant into a residual limb. It used to be socket prosthetics. The earliest record of socket prosthetics was from the 1500s. And I talked about this a little bit in my first program on Saturday, the challenges amputees deal with dealing with sockets. You need high levels of energy. You can get sore. Perspiration can cause abrasions, infection, pressure sores. So let's kind of talk a little bit about this. I found it interesting. Ed, thank you so much for the greetings with the good luck tomorrow. Thank you very much. Oh no, it's not Ed, it's Warren. Warren, thanks for tuning in. My friend from Extrabola, Uncle Warren. Thanks, buddy. See you on the other side. So this is what early diagrams of prosthetics from the 1500s, I guess, when medieval knights would lose their limbs in combat, much like the Black Knight in the Monty Python movie. Don't worry, it's only a flesh wound. I'm sure they must have fitted him with something like this afterwards. The first prosthetic, the so-called Kapua leg, is more than 2,300 years old. And notice up at the top there's a socket. Made of bronze and held in place with rods and leather straps, it was probably crafted by an armorer. First written record of prosthetic use comes from 16th century France, where royal surgeon and battlefield medic Ambroise Paré worked to fit artificial limbs to soldiers with both upper and lower limb loss who had been wounded in combat. One such soldier, an army captain, is recorded as having worn one of Paré's mechanical hands into battle. Wow, not too retro, medieval, futuristic fantasy. I had read somewhere, and perhaps it was wrong since this kind of contradicts the historical timeline of earliest use being recorded in the 1500s, but I read somewhere that the Egyptians would fit those with limb loss with socket technology. So moving forward, here's the evolution of socket prosthetics. This is what's underneath our pants, everybody, or dresses, depending on your gender. Between the 16th and 19th centuries, there were further developments in prosthetic technology. Late 17th century, Dutch surgeon Pieter Verduin developed a Bologna prosthetic with hinges allowing for knee movement, and also developed one of the first true flap amputations. Prosthetic technology continued to be refined through the 19th and early 20th centuries, first with the POTS Anglesey leg in 1800, then Selfo leg in 1839. The huge number of amputations performed during the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865, prompted massive developments. And this is why technology has advanced more, I think, over the past, let's say, 3 or 4 decades than back then, because, we are constantly consumed with conflict all over the world, and in an effort to better serve our veterans, Walter Reed and a lot of the government services helping veterans after injuries in war are responsible for developing solutions and technologies to help them that then get passed on to the consumer. After the beginning of the 20th century, British pilot Andre Marcel de Sauter created the first aluminum prosthesis. Now in the 1940s, here's where the beginnings of osseointegration began. The phenomenon of osseointegration, the ingrowth of bone into the surface of an artificial implant, was first recognized in animal models in 1940. It was pioneered by Swedish surgeon Per Ingvar Brånemark, who completed the first osseointegrated dental implantation procedure in 1965. These first dental implants remained in place for over 40 years. So that's another interesting thing too. Osseointegration is not exclusive to implantations in amputees. Osseointegration is what happens when they give you a tooth implant. When you lose a tooth and you get a tooth replacement, and you see the little screw going into your jaw, into the gum, that's actually osseointegration. So a lot of you out there might not even realize that a dental procedure may have already made you the recipient of osseointegrated surgery, at least on a dental level. But osseointegration, meaning it's an implantation into the bone. It's something that's anchored into the bone or skeletal structure of the human body. Now in the 1980s, the major strides, no pun intended, the development of osseointegration throughout the 70s and 80s, the technology of osseointegration developed and became increasingly accepted within the scientific and surgical community. This led to the investigation of other potential applications of the technology. 1990, first osseointegration for amputees. The first osseointegrated implant for amputees was fitted on May 5th, 1990 by Ricard Brånemark, Per Ingvar's son. The patient was a 25-year-old woman who had lost both legs above the knee in a tram accident aged 15. The surgery was completed in 2 stages over a period of 6 months. It enabled the patient to walk with the use of crutches and to exercise by cycling. These first implants functioned as intended for 23 years. And you can see a photo there of the first bilateral recipient of an osseointegrated implant. She lost her legs pretty high. It's always difficult, not even with, barring the osseointegration here, sockets, dealing with amputations at that level. If you don't have a lot of bone, they've got to give you a socket that's got a strap around it. They call that a hip disarticulation socket. Lucky for me, my doctors managed to salvage a good length of my femur bone so that I could go without the belt. But another difficult challenge for people who've lost their upper limb extremities higher. 1990s. Brånemark's early success was followed by further clinical trials during the early 1990s, which further developed the application for above-knee transfemoral, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right yet, transfemoral amputees. I'll go with that. And pioneered the use of osseointegrated implants for below-knee, transradial, and digital thumb and finger amputees. The experience of these first osseointegrated amputees was used to improve both the technology of the osseointegrated implant and the techniques used during osseointegration surgery. Now, here are the different versions that are available already in use. These are not the version I'm going to get tomorrow, since it's a different application for the FDA approval. But first, we've got the Oprah implant, which is also known as the screw implant, because as you can see, there are threads on this implant as it is threaded into the bone. In 1998, Brånemark began to work to develop standardized protocols for 2-stage osseointegration surgery. Now, the Oprah implant actually takes 6 months. You have to go through 2 surgeries for that. Luckily, the one I'm going through is only one run at the surgery, 3-month recovery time until they start to allow you to weight bear on your prosthetic device. the osseointegrated implant itself, and the post-operative rehabilitation process for patients. It became known as OPRA, osseointegrated prosthesis for the rehabilitation of amputees. Has nothing to do with Oprah Winfrey, guys. Nothing at all. Although I'm sure she would try to figure out how to hitch her wagon to that branding. OPRA was based on the use of bone threading and screw fit implants. Going back to the live chat. Extra Bulla, Warren, vibranium or adamantium? Wouldn't it be perfect if we actually lived the Marvel universe that I could get one or the other? Although the way things are going in the news cycle right now, Warren, not to get too off the health talk, I have said that I think we are now living in the reality where Steve Rogers did not return all the Infinity Stones. And as I read on social media the other day and shared on Twitter, apparently our government also knows where the Ark of the Covenant is. So we're living in the timeline of Indiana Jones. What a time to be alive and learn these things. Ed shares, modern dentures add metal posts into the jaw. Yep, that's true too. They're implanting so that they're anchored permanently, as opposed to people having to pop them out, put them back in with denture cream, as we see the risks of that with some of our senior politicians. Nancy Pelosi. All right, getting back to the history of osseointegration. I told myself I'm not going to bring politics into this show like we did on Chicago Corner, although as matters we talk about relate to healthcare and affordable healthcare and available healthcare, might pop up a little here and there. 1999, implant development. The ILP. This is the first press fit osseointegrated implant that was fitted in Germany. The patient was an 18-year-old male with an above-knee amputation. This implant was called the integral leg prosthesis and included a number of innovations with benefits for stability, weight bearing, and mobilization. 2010 forward. The OPL implant. The next generation of press fit implants is represented by the osseointegrated prosthetic limb, typically implanted during a single-stage surgery, which offers a shorter recovery time for amputees. I think this is related to the one I'm getting. The OPL reflects the state-of-the-art of biomechanical engineering and materials science, as well as additive manufacturing technologies, which enables the best possible fit for every patient. To date now, more than 1,000 patients have been successfully implanted with the OPL. That's worldwide. There's not a lot of people. So we are kind of at the forefront of this next step, no pun intended, of prosthetic innovation. And I do believe the OPL is related to the Compress fit implant I'm getting tomorrow morning. So let's go to another screen. As I was talking earlier about Walter Reed, found this interesting slideshow on what the rehabilitation process is like for hopefully any amputees who are tuning in, that I strongly recommend explore this direction. As I believe, along with others I've talked to, this is just an amazing way to go. This is what happens after the process. Where are we here? Okay, next slide. In fact, I have a friend here in Chicago who's bilateral. Means you've lost your limb on from both legs, and I brought his attention to this. He didn't know about it. I'm like, Gus, you got to look into this. So yeah, as we talked in the first show on Saturday, the benefits, options, and opportunities, the essential point of integration between human tissue and replacement limb. The socket distributes the stress during weight bearing, suspension, and ambulation, as you can see here. Osseointegration, firm anchoring of a surgical implant, as in dentistry or bone surgery, the growth of bone around it without fibrous tissue formation at the interface. There you see it coming out. Transfemoral. That is below that lower extremities. These are ideal for people with short residual limbs. That's kind of where I'm at. Suspension challenges, limited ROM. I'm not sure what that acronym stands for. Uncomfortable sitting. brim. That is my biggest complaint for the past 35 plus years is sitting. When you sit in a socket, it comes loose. The brim grinds against your groin area, hot, perspiration, donning, putting it on, taking it off, liners. I showed the process last show on what I have to deal with getting into my my socket. Now they give a little bit of an overview for transhumeral, which are upper extremity amputees, the challenges that they deal with. And osseointegration implants are available for upper limb amputees also. Limited ROM, uncomfortable hot perspiration, suspension, donning, pullback, harnessing. When you've got a short upper limb, uncomfortable, cumbersome, irritates skin, contralateral nerve issues. So here's what I'm looking at, or anybody's looking at. Week 0, my physical therapy, proximal strengthening. They're going to put me in physical therapy next week. I'm going to spend the next 3 days in the hospital. Then when I'm out, they'll put me into PT down at Northwestern with their PT department, because there's very special, well, not special, but specific physical therapy exercises for patients that are undergoing this procedure with limb strengthening. Proximal strengthening exercises, resistive upper body strengthening program, myocyte training, fit with liner, axial weight loading, fit with full-length prosthesis. Well, that's not going to happen. Oh, no, this is for the conventional prosthesis. I'm sorry. So, yeah, this is when I got out of the hospital in 1986, after I was healing for 3 months because I had a lot of skin grafts. Once I got out in that first month and the grafts had healed, this was the chart of what the physical therapy was like. Axial weight loading, fit with a full-length prosthesis. That's where they cast your limb and plaster, and they have a positive mold, they pull a negative, and then they use the thin plastic to create the socket for you. And then it eventually kind of goes down until by week 3, you're walking and weight bearing at your ability, and then getting stronger and stronger as you move forward. This kind of shows a little bit about what the fitting process is like. I don't know if that video doesn't play. So here are the clinical trials as they go to osseointegration at Walter Reed. Here are the companies, the sponsors, the medical companies that have developed these. I believe, yeah, this is the compress fit here. This is the type I believe I'm getting tomorrow. It's put in and then anchored in with pins. They go through all the different challenges. I mean, I've talked about a lot of this. I just thought it might be nice to have some visuals to share as we're talking about this stuff. This is interesting. Why do they have a guy with a weapon? Let me look closer at this page. Artificial limb representation in amputees. Brain Journal of. Now, here's something interesting. A friend I was talking to today was joking about, it's like I'm going to be the bionic man. Well, no, I'm not, because this is all physical hardware, but there are research studies going on right now with upper limb what do they call them? I know transfemoral is lower limb, transhumeral, the humerus, where they will integrate wires and electrodes to your skin that are then wired into the microprocessor in perhaps the fitting of like an elbow, or for lower limb amputees, the knee. And those are meant to receive signals from your nervous system, so that you're not just relying on the microprocessor that's a computer in the leg. It's actually receiving signals from you to control the flexion of the knee. Those kind of technologies are being tested. I believe Shirley Ryan downtown is engaged in some of those studies right now. And at its simplest, it's the littlest things that matter the most: sitting comfortably around the house and in the car, using both arms to carry or support items without relying on a cane or crutches if you got your limb off, cooking, using both hands and good ergonomics, writing. So yeah, they go into a little bit more detail. I showed some videos last week. In fact, I'll show the video again that I shared last week just to kind of give a sense of what this is going to look like on the other end. This is Joe walking 4 months post osseointegration.
All right, good to go.
Pretty cool. So lastly, the other thing I've got that I thought I would share. Now, it's all the same stuff. I mean, in taking on this show to talk about, the process, I've kind of gone over all the basics. I don't know that there's a whole lot more I can talk about that, you haven't already learned in last Saturday's broadcast, or a little quick overview that I gave at the top of this show. And, really, I thought I'd come on tonight just to see if there was anybody else that wanted to participate in the live chat, because I have been sharing links to this channel on a lot of Facebook amputee peer support groups where people are talking about osseointegration surgery and other challenges, even dealing with regular conventional prosthetics. I thought it'd be interesting to talk about, thoughts most people have the night before a major surgery, and be available to answer questions or just engage people in the live chat, as I have my good friends, Uncle Warren and Ed there. But, at the very most, we got about a half hour we've gone. I might even just wrap this up shortly, just to send a hello out to everybody and thank you all for tuning in, liking and subscribing to the channel. There'll be a lot more to share after tomorrow. I'm looking forward to presenting all that and letting regular viewers know, as well as others with physical disability challenges like myself, to learn more about this and what to expect if you choose to take that step, pun intended, into getting the implantation procedure for yourself and talking with your doctors. I know that when I was researching this in Chicago, I had asked my general practitioner, because I was reading about osseointegration online. They didn't know what it was. And I had to research and find what hospitals were doing it. I don't even think Rush Presbyterian's doing it, which is my go-to hospital, a great surgical center. But it's Northwestern that's at the forefront of this procedure. They've already done the other versions for amputees who've lost limbs above and below with extremities. And it was that Dr. Peabody over at Northwestern, who I consulted with, who told me about this clinical trial coming up. So that's pretty much all I got. I just thought I would share some reflections on the night before my surgery. Answer any questions if anybody who's discovered the channel wanted to participate in the live chat. Hopefully, the more I present and share and try to promote this channel. Oh, and by the way, yeah, I did decide to be a publicity whore. I did put out a press release to hope to gain more traction and traffic to the channel. I guess this did get picked up by a lot of news outlets, so I'm hoping the unique aspect of my being the first in Chicago to receive this in this clinical trial would stimulate some interest and attention to the channel for people to learn more about this, as well as especially other amputees. So that's what I'm doing to try to get some more viewership here. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. You'll get updates on your YouTube feed. If you like the video, please go ahead and like it. If you're an amputee or cane or crutch using person, we do have a sponsor. A little thing I threw together with my father to help cane and crutch using people gain better stability and mobility in their lives with their canes or crutches. So a word from our sponsor before I sign out.
Are you a cane or crutch user seeking greater support on the beach, golfing, gardening, or going up or down stairs? How about a tip that freestands both canes and crutches when not in use? Regular cane and crutch tips won't work on all surfaces. You've tried the rest, now get the best. Introducing the Easy Walk by SandPad Brands, the only cane and crutch pad providing stability on sand, grass, snow, mud, rocky terrain, as well as regular paved surfaces.
So there you go. Please, as I mentioned, subscribe to the channel. Share it if you know anybody, if you have any friends or family in your life that are dealing with the same mobility challenges, upper or lower limb, as they relate to prosthetic reliance on prosthetics. Let's see if there's any other comments in the chat. And, you know, there's a live chat over there. No, over there. Pop in sometime, say hello. I'd love to engage with everybody out there tuning in and being so kind as to join me as I share my experiences moving forward. So with that, I want to wish you all a good night. I will see you on the other end. See you on the other side. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe. And thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Have a good night.